It's a people, it's a community, it's a life, it's a heart, it's a spirit.
The heck did you want a picture of a tattoo of $1,000 on your penis for?
The medications that have now come out really make HIV a manageable disease.
Like I said, in today's market, real estate alone has gone up 15%.
Right, so sometimes there is no battle. Lately, if I don't get my musket dirty, that's great with me.
The cops were pushing her and egging her on to get her nuts. They were calling her names.
And then I find that the actors and actresses, for the most part, are like sponges. They soak up whatever you give back to them.
And he kept explaining to me that I wasn't gay, that you cannot be gay.
Religion and spirituality are big, big topics these days. I mean, the bookshelves, the bookstores are full of them.
Incest, not funny. Midgets, not funny. Incestuous midgets.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Talking About Live. My name is Christopher DelGaudio and we'd like to welcome you and wish you a happy new year. Yes, this is live here tonight. We welcome your comments and questions at area code 718-460-9802. Now, in the wake of the incident of September the 11th, people's attitudes and perceptions have changed all across the globe. And amongst those attitudes and perception, there's a special place for the firefighters and police officers who definitely have given much more than even we can ever know in the rescue and in the salvation of so many people whose lives have been affected by this tragedy. And with us this evening are two such people, a firefighter and police officer respectively, and each heads a very unique organization. First, we have, as president of the FireFLAG EMS, Thomas Ryan. We'd like to welcome you this evening. And secondly, we have, as the president of G.O.A.L, the Gay Officers Action League, Ann Cregan. And we'd like to welcome you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tom, you've been with us before. We've interviewed you before. And why don't you recap somewhat about your organization and what it's all about? And
well, FireFLAG EMS started in 1991, and it was an organization that was started as a peer support group for gay and lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered firefighters. And we've expanded it over the last few years to include EMS workers or emergency medical service workers.
Great. Now, in terms of the 9/11 incident, were you working on the day that...
No, I was off that day. I was home, and like most Americans, was watching my TV after I had heard about the first plane hitting. And as soon as I saw the second plane hit, I knew that it wasn't an accident, that we were being attacked. And I immediately called my firehouse to find out if we were going to be called in on a recall. And I talked to Angel Wabe, a member of Ladder 12. And unfortunately, that was the last time I got to talk to Angel, as he was one of the 5 people we lost that day. So I left my house almost immediately after talking to him and headed into Manhattan.
About what time was that morning?
I got was the second plane hit it. I think it was near 9:30, and I was on site at the Trade Center by 11 o'clock.
Now, both buildings had collapsed by
the
time.
They had both come down by that point, and I didn't even know they were down because I had left my home and hopped on my motorcycle to get there. And when I got there, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing.
What was your initial reaction?
I think it was initially just numbness and just pure shock over what my eyes were seeing. My mind couldn't comprehend what my eyes were seeing.
What was the first task that you were dispatched to do down there?
Well, there was just an incredible amount of buildings that were on fire, and reports of other buildings that were on fire. So we were basically putting groups of between 4 and 5, maybe 6 firefighters, and we were just sent to different locations to kind of search out if the building was on fire or not.
My hat's off to you. Ann Cregan, now president of the Gay Officers Action League. Tell us a little bit about your organization for those who don't know. On previous installments of the show, we've had guests from G.O.A.L or who had been previous members, and if you could just give us a little bit of a recap on the organization and how you became affiliated.
Okay, our organization is a fraternal organization,
Mhm.
which comprises of New York City police officers, New York City corrections officers, district attorneys from the various district attorney offices throughout the city. Actually, anybody who's involved with criminal justice.
Okay.
We're a fraternal organization for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, criminal justice professional. We started back in 1982, so we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it was formed pretty much to help the lesbian and gay, bisexual member of the service, criminal justice professional, to combat sexual harassment, discrimination in the workplace, the homophobia throughout the workplace.
Now, were you part of its inception in 1982?
Oh, no. I came on board 1988,
Okay.
maybe 1987.
And currently you're the president.
Yes.
Now. And now in terms of the September 11th incident, where were you at the time that this transpired?
Well, I work at One Police Plaza.
Okay, so you're right in that
Yes.
vicinity. Yeah.
And I was at work that morning at my desk, and when the first plane hit the building, it sounded like it was right outside my window. One Police Plaza is about 5-6 blocks maybe from
Yeah.
the World Trade Center, and it was so loud it truly sounded like it was right outside the window.
What was your initial reaction? Did you know what it was immediately?
No, I was sitting at my desk, and my office is right on the second floor,
Okay.
and my desk is right next to a window. And I got up and I looked out the window, and I looked down, and I just saw droves of people just running. It was like one of those Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
You see people running and running,
Yeah.
and you're like, what? So I'm following the people, see where they're running from, and it followed me up, because I can see the World Trade Center from my office.
Yeah.
And I followed the people up, and there was this gaping hole in the World Trade Center. And that's when people started turning on the TVs, turning on the radios, and that's when we found out it was a plane.
Unbelievable. We are currently talking with Thomas Ryan, president of FireFLAG EMS, and Ann Cregan, president of Gay Officers Action League G.O.A.L. We invite you to call 718-460-9082. The telephone number that's listed on your screen is apparently not correct. 9802. No. One of them, there's a number listed on screen here that's 460-9802. Please, we invite you to call. We welcome your questions and your comments. Both your organizations naturally were started because of great discrimination and great harassment that has always taken place on the job front. And how have you felt that your organizations have helped discrimination and people procuring employment fairly, not based on sexual orientation or any other matter of discrimination? Tom, for FireFLAG, have you seen changes, definite changes in the last decade?
I think it's the fire department is very, very slow to change, and I think we've made some inroads, but as far as saying like actual change, I think we've made some, but we have a lot further to go.
In what way?
Well, I think that we've like G.O.A.L started in 1982 under Ed Koch when he was mayor, is when sexual orientation was added to the list of things you can't discriminate against, and the fire department kind of ignored that for many years. And I think now that people are starting to come out on the job and stuff like that, I think that it's slowly changing.
What would you say is the percentage of gay firefighters that are out of the closet and currently working,
There are really only about
10%?
No. I've been the only out firefighter for about 3 years.
Really?
And then there are 2 or 3 others that are in the process of coming out, and there's maybe 2 or 3 others that are out in their firehouses. It's a very, very hard job to come out
I
on.
would imagine. Now with the police officers, do you find that there's a higher ratio of women that are more comfortable with their sexual orientation than the men?
Oh, yes. Yes. And as a police officer, it's easier in that climate for a woman
Yeah.
to be gay, to come out, and as ridiculous as it sounds, but because it's a man's kind of job, it's going to sound awful, but a straight male police officer would kind of expect the female to be gay, because you got to be tough, you got to be able to do this, you got to be able to do that. Whereas they'll accept it more from the female
Right.
than they would from the male that's sitting next to them in the car.
Sure.
You know, because it's like, oh my God, you know, it's a gay guy sitting next to me in an RMP for 8 hours. He's looking at me this way, he's looking at me that way, and
I would have to agree with that as far as the women firefighters, that they are generally looked upon as, well, they must be gay because they want to do this job. And there's actually a very small percentage of them that are gay.
true.
Of the female firefighters.
The female firefighters,
And,
yeah.
and something we should mention, that with all the firefighters and police workers involved in the September 11th incident, and even in general, there are a great many of them that are women. We hear about the men all too often, but there were many women
That's
firefighters.
very true. Unfortunately, the media continues to use the term fireman.
Yeah.
You know, the firemen are down there and the guys are all down there, and they've ignored the fact that there were women firefighters down there, there were women construction workers, women police officers, women iron workers. There were dead police women down there, police officers. I think that's a great disservice to them and their memory, that to continue to use the masculine terms to describe the workers down there and the heroes.
We're all so conditioned in that way, but definitely. What would you say makes a person? I mean, everybody as a child has a vision of what they'd like to be when they grow up. What makes a person choose a profession such as a firefighter, for example? Is there something in you that isn't in somebody else that makes you want to go that route and put yourself up front to that element of risk?
I think there is, to a certain degree. I think anybody that goes into firefighting or to be a police officer, that you have this desire to help other people and to be of service of somehow. There are times that you think that it's a pretty crazy job to do, but it's a great job. The rewards are great, and unfortunately, there's great risk, as we never could have imagined.
Wow.
What would have happened on September 11th, but overall, I have almost 20 years on the job now, and it's been a great job.
And Anne, for the police officer's perspective, would you concur with that? Do you have any other reasons that brought you to choosing? Well,
I agree with Tom very much, but there are all those people that took a civil service job because they needed the benefits, the stability of a job. I mean, you'll find many women on the police department, okay, whether they're gay or straight, okay, they needed benefits for themselves. They didn't have a husband maybe at the time. They knew there was no husband in their future. They needed their own security, which I would imagine the same thing with a lot of female firefighters,
right.
The female EMS workers.
Sure.
But aside from benefits and security, it is a wonderful job. I'm doing it for 17 years now, and I don't regret it one bit.
Wonderful. We have a call from Dan in Belrose. Dan in Belrose, you're on Talking About Live. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to say that I commend both of your guests tonight for being open about who they are and doing the job that they do. And I just want to know if there are any specific issues that someone of an uncommon sexual orientation would face as a survivor of the September 11th incidents would face.
Very good question. Tom, why don't you take that first?
Well, Dan, I think that a major issue that's come up is the domestic partnership rights that we assumed that we had as workers for New York City. It seems that the rights that we thought we had, there seems to be a lot of loopholes in them as far as your domestic partnership rights. If either Ann or myself had died, our partners should, what we thought would get our pensions. Our pension system works off of both the city and state plans. And while the city has domestic partnership rights, the state does not, and it does not recognize domestic partners. The city also, when you die in the line of duty, the arrangement is that it goes to, in order of preference, to your spouse, to your children, or to your parents. So there's no mention of domestic partner in the city line of who gets your benefits. And the state only has your children or your spouse and then your children. So again, there's no mention of domestic partners. So we found since the 11th that there were major issues for us as far as having the same legal rights as our heterosexual counterparts at work.
I understand. Thank you. I just have a different angle of the question. Do you feel that the media has somewhat unfairly given a disproportionate amount of attention to the persons in the service industry as compared to the other victims of the attack?
It's a little hard to say. I mean, just as my own personal feelings is that I feel that while people have generally appreciated firefighters like kind of from a distance, it took a great tragedy like this to get people to realize, what we actually do for a living. And I believe police officers have really been raked over the coals over the last few years. And it wasn't until 911 that people can appreciate what police officers do for a living.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Have a good night.
Okay, we have another caller on the line. We have Tony from Kew Gardens, who is a former New York Police Department sergeant. Tony, you're on Talking About Live. Welcome this evening. Tony. Is Tony there? Did we lose Tony? Okay, we'll get back to him. But getting back to domestic partnership issue, both of you currently have significant others in your lives.
Yes.
Yes.
If anything now were to happen to either of you right now, there is no guarantee that the significant other would receive your pension or anything of that nature.
That's true, and that has only really come out since the 11th.
Wow.
That we found this out. I was led to believe that there were certain rights, but it seems that as in many issues when you're dealing with government and money, there seems to be loopholes.
Now this would encompass even straight couples who are not married.
Oh, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not exclusively.
There are domestic partners, women domestic partners of firefighters who were killed, who are experiencing difficulties with pensions and what their rights are.
What active measures are being done to try to reverse the situation, to the best of your knowledge?
Well, I think we're.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Tom. We have, I think, Tony once again from Kew Gardens. Tony?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Tony. Welcome to Talking About Live.
Okay, thank you very much. Like I told you, a call screener there, I'm a retired sergeant from the NYPD, and I'd like to direct this question to the representative you have there from the police department. Could she maybe expound a little bit upon what the current morale is of the officers that she deals with, and maybe from her feedback, I know she said she works down at 1PP, so what about feedback from her friends or relations that maybe work the streets and have to deal with the public every day, and the current morale, and as far as how the cops are reacting to the pay raises or the lack of pay raises in the recent past, and also the fact that so many retirements lately that they can't keep. It's hard to keep up with all the retirements in the job now.
Ann?
Okay, Tony. Let's see, where should I begin? As far as the retirements, people are retiring left and right now. Since September 11th, the overtime that was generated because of that, people just really can't pass it up. If they're eligible to retire, they can't pass it up. Yes, there was a large retirement problem before that, but it's obviously excelled since September 11th in the overtime. The morale of the police officers, morale has been so-so, obviously, pay raises, cost of living increases, so forth. The morale obviously did rise very well, when obscene as it sounds, after September 11th, because everybody on the street was thanking us, everybody was shaking our hands, patting us on the back. But it also reminded the police officer that it was a shame it took September 11th for these people to recognize us. And as well as anybody, for that one bad cop that gets all the headlines, there are 35,000 of them that are doing very well. You know, so morale will be on an upswing. You know, I have a good feeling about things to come. So just keep your fingers crossed, please.
About those pay raises,
Yeah.
right in to the mayor.
Yeah, Tony, you know, you can say more about it than I can right now. Okay, so. And what else were you asking about?
Well, I also wanted to know about how the cops are relating to each other. I mean, it's such a big. Since I came on the job years ago, it wasn't the diversity you had on the job now. I mean, now you have so many female police officers, and you have so many officers of color and of different racial and ethnic backgrounds. So I'm talking about the relationships within the department themselves, gay officers and straight officers. I mean, back in my day, that was like an unheard of thing to even come. We knew we had them. We knew they were there, but they sort of kept in the background. And now that everything is out front, my question is: has that caused any problems or resentments or any locker room fights and stuff like that used to happen years ago for other reasons?
Okay. The police department's come a long way. Okay, the police department has an organization, and the people that comprise of the police department have come a long way. Are there the locker room fights? I'm sure there are. Are there still that hostility in various precincts throughout the city? I'm sure there is still that hostility. But as a whole, the police department and the personnel really have come far. Everything from training, streetwise training that's been implemented, diversified training that's been implemented. It's come a long way.
Well, that's good to hear. Like I say, I guess times have changed, and you hope that PD changes along with the times. And I guess remains to be seen what the results of all this will be. But thank you very much for answering my question.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for calling. Okay, we have pitch. Off. Okay. What would you figure yourself as first? I have an interesting kind of question. Besides a firefighter and a police officer, a gay firefighter and police officer, or a human being, or just a police officer, not gay?
I see myself as a gay woman before I see myself as a police officer. You know, I'll always be a gay woman.
Is that before you're a police officer?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Tom?
I see myself as a human being.
First,
foremost. And I think that like many human beings, I wear many hats. You know, I'm a firefighter, I'm a father, I'm a partner, I'm a friend. There's many different hats that we wear in life. So, which we should all look at. I think if you could take anything from 911, it's that we're all human beings. You know, this was an attack on all of us and on all Americans, not just some, not just, this group or that group, or, it was on all of us.
I know we had said it many times on previous shows, but it took an incident as horrible as this to really make everybody reconfirm their humanity.
Absolutely. And I think that the humanity that's been shown has been phenomenal. I mean, we still, are getting mail every day in the firehouse from schools all across the country and the world. People in the neighborhoods around the firehouses, they still come by with flowers. They still stop and look at the pictures of the firefighters that were lost. It's the humanity, the goodness I think that's come out of this is pretty tremendous.
Yeah. Once again, everybody, we're on Talking About Live. We welcome your phone calls at area code 718-460-9802. We're speaking with Thomas Ryan, the president of FireFLAG EMS, and Ann Cregan, the president of G.O.A.L, the Gay Officers Action League. We'd like to hear from you, any questions and comments. I noticed after the September 11th incident also, I'm on Long Island, and how nice everybody was behaving to each other after that. People just saying hello, who didn't know each other, strangers passing each other on the street, somebody more inclined to hold the door open for you, or just little acts of kindness that kind of bound us all together. The terrible thing is to think, is a catastrophe always needed to help people to do that? And especially in your instances, to appreciate a police officer or a firefighter who most of us just assume is always there, and just always there for the taking. And I guess none of us should really take you guys for granted, because what you do is very special. Not a hell of a lot of us could really do that job. I know I would be very reticent, very reluctant to get up on a ladder and put out a fire.
So would I.
Or but it's on a personal note now, if you can tell us a little bit, I'll start with you, Tom, more about your background. Now, you originally were married.
I was.
And you have children currently.
I have 3 children.
And
I was married for 10 years, and then, like many Americans, realized it was a bad marriage, and went through the steps to end it. And then, you know, I knew my whole life I was gay, I guess, but I always suppressed it and kept it back in the background, because that was what you were supposed to do. And I grew up in an Irish Catholic home, and you couldn't be gay. Yeah. So it was a big struggle to come to terms with who I was. And once I ended my marriage, I decided I was going to live my life
as who you are.
As who I am.
What gave you the inspiration to really make that move? Because there are thousands, if not millions, throughout the country that are in the same predicament right as we speak, but will remain in the conventional closet and wear one face for public and one for private. What made you different? What gave you that courage?
Well, I think the strength of my partner and his total, you know, unconditional love for me, the same love that I get from my children. I think that was a big part of it, was that you know, you're trying to raise children up to believe in what's right and wrong. And if I was, you know, explaining to them that this is who I was and this is what I'm about, and how could I tell them that this is a good thing for, you know, for me to be and not be out at work or not be out in my life.
What was your ex-wife's reaction?
It wasn't pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I could only imagine.
It wasn't a, it was a big struggle. It was a really horrendous point in my life, and we've since moved on from that.
Are you on good terms currently?
Well, we have 3 children together, and you know, I think we keep our distance still, but we're, you know, we don't fight, so that's a good thing.
Now, for you, Anne, were you married previously?
No.
Or no?
No.
So always this has been...
yeah, for as long as I can remember.
And
so.
Did you have any period of transition where there was difficulty in accepting your orientation, or you found you floated into it comfortably?
Yeah, I've been pretty, I consider myself pretty lucky.
Yeah.
I came out to I'm an only child.
So am I.
So, you know, there was nobody carrying on my father's name. And Mom wasn't getting any grandchildren. Well, more than likely, Mom wasn't getting any grandchildren. So when I came out to my parents, I was 19 maybe, and I was pretty lucky. I was very, very lucky. They, you know, my mother's first reaction was, I'm gonna send you to a doctor. You have to see a doctor. And I was like, okay, you know. And then after that initial, you know, extreme outbreak, she calmed down. We talked about it, and I've been very, very lucky, even on this job and throughout my whole. You know, so far so good.
Great.
So.
Now, both of you invariably see other people that aren't as lucky, that may be really caught in that place in between the straight and gay world, perhaps married on the force or with your battalion or ladder company. How does that make you feel, though, when you see somebody, male or female, leading the double life, so to speak? Does that bother either of you in any way? Does it make you feel like they're almost insulting your intelligence by trying to put on one face when you know clearly that it's the opposite? Or are you more towards, well, to each his own, this is what they have to do for their survival?
Well, I myself kind of think, having been through it, that you know, every individual has to come to terms with their own, who they are and how they're going to live their lives. And I don't think that we should sit back and be judging other people. And if they want to, you know, stay in a marriage, if that's what works for them, then that's, you know, who are we to argue that point? I think there's a lot of people who are in a lot of pain over it, and that's not right. I don't think that, you know, you should just live a life just, you know, in hiding just to because that's what you feel you have to do. That's not fair to you, it's not fair to your spouse. But I don't, you know, to judge somebody else like that, I couldn't, you know, I couldn't fault them for doing it like that. I'd be there to talk to them and tell them what my experience was and stuff like that, but I don't think I could, you know.
Because it's certainly not an easy thing just to come.
It's not.
I mean, it sounds easy accepting what you are, but there are a lot of contingencies.
Well, you think it'd be easier. It's 2002, but
really?
It's still a struggle that many people are dealing with.
Absolutely. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Absolutely.
And I think the gay community typifies that in many ways. What about you, Anne, when you see people in that predicament? Do you feel the same way?
Because I was lucky with my parents and I've had good experiences on the police department, sometimes I look at people and I'm like, it's okay, you know, you can come out, and who am I to judge? Maybe I'll tell them to come out and it might blow up in their face.
Right.
You know, I've been lucky, so that's the only kind of experience I can offer them. I remember when I came out to my parents, you know, I ran a big gamble, and I trusted my parents enough that, you know, I got to tell them. You know, I've looked at friends of mine over the years, you know, very dear friends, and I'm like, tell your parents, you have to give them a little more credit. They're like, no, can't tell them, can't tell them. And you also want to say to them, your parents know. You know, how can they not? Or your coworkers, they know.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, like Tom said, if somebody's not ready, and if that's what works for them, so be it.
And there's still a lot. I mean, I come from a family that does, you know, my birth family really has nothing to do with me since I came out.
Really?
I have 5 brothers, and only one of them is still in contact with me. So it's, you know, there are many families that would do that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they don't know the term, you know, they don't know what kind of unconditional love means.
That's right.
You know, and there's a lot of, you know, it goes on a lot, and there's a lot of young teenagers that, you know, that know they're gay, and they know that they can't come out for religious reasons, for family reasons, for numerous
peer
different
pressure
reasons.
or
Peer
fear
pressure.
of advancement on their jobs or
Right.
getting employment, you know, a whole variety of different things. I remember you saying last time we spoke that you lectured at a number of high schools.
Right.
Describe that again.
Well, I go around, I work with a group that's called GLSEN. It's the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Educators Network.
Okay.
And I go around to different schools, and I go, I've done it in middle schools, high schools, some college level, and teachers groups too. And basically go and tell them about my experiences as when I was a teenager and thought I was gay and couldn't be, and what I did to hide it, and my struggles through my life, and trying to help, you know, send a message out to anybody in the audience that's listening that you can survive some horrible things and come through to the other side and live a nice, happy life.
And still triumph. Well, we have a caller on the line. We have Daisy from Queens. Daisy, you're on Talking About Live. Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to share a comment.
Sure.
I'm I guess, a married gay woman, and it is hard to live a double life, but I think that some of us do have to because of our work, family, friends. So I just wanted to share that with everyone.
Okay. I know I like to comment a lot of the time, though, if they're really friends, they'll accept you for who you really are a lot of the time. And
Right.
That's just the thought I like to leave with people. Because friends is a word I think we apply very loosely to a lot of people that might not really be deserving of it. And a friend loves you, not what he or she thinks is you. And that's just something to kind of think about a little bit.
Thank you.
Do you have another question for Tom or for Ann?
No, but I admire the work they do, and on behalf of of lesbian people and gay people, I'd just like to say keep it up and thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Now, say somebody coming to G.O.A.L for the first time, a law enforcement official of any sort, and is just starting to grapple with their homosexuality. What would be the first course of action, the first way you might ease them into the fold or put them at ease? Or
Okay, right off the bat, I would explain to them the level of confidentiality that our organization has.
Mm-hmm.
We have an executive board of 8 people, and of those 8 people, only 2 people are privy to the membership list. It is strictly, and you don't find this in other fraternal organizations, obviously, because the need isn't there. The level of confidentiality our organization has is utmost.
And how far-reaching is the organization? Is it nationwide now?
Yes.
or-
Yes, we have
In
a
every
chapter.
state?
Not in every state, not yet.
Okay.
We have New England chapters, a New Jersey chapter.
West Coast?
Yes, West Coast. It's not everyone yet. Give me time.
And what about FireFLAG EMS? Are you nationwide?
Yeah, we're a national organization too. Unfortunately, we don't have other chapters, sub-chapters set up yet because it's a pretty new process for us. But we do have, because of the computer age, we have members in more than half the states now that have contacted us and come forward to us. And on my specific job, it seems to be this whole process of people who do contact me. I usually get, either on the computer or on a phone message, and we play phone tag a few times, and then I develop like a relationship, a speaking relationship with them, and show them that they can have confidence in me, that I, will keep the confidentiality between us. And once we build up that kind of a relationship, then they're comfortable, and we can meet and sit down and talk, and that seems to work.
And hopefully bridge that
Little gap and help them, whether they want to come out at work or not, or whether they just trying to get comfortable with themselves.
Great. Once again, we're on Talking About Live. We invite you to call in. We're speaking with Thomas Ryan, the president of FireFLAG EMS for gay firefighters and emergency service workers, and Ann Cregan, the president of G.O.A.L, the Gay Officers Action League. Please call us. We'd like to hear from you at 460-9802. We're taking your calls live. When you've been, Tom, at the high schools, though, do you find that there's a special kind of attention that the kids pay when you're speaking with them?
I think so, because I basically had said it. I would go into the classroom in uniform, and I would talk to them for about 10 or 15 minutes on fire safety, and directing the conversation towards personal safety and how people should feel safe wherever they are, and how so many kids don't feel safe in school. And then we'd start talking about different, expressions that you would hear that would put another person down. And then inevitably, the use of the word faggot comes up, and we take it from there. And then I say, well, let's talk about that word. And I tell them the reason I want to talk about it is because I am a gay man. And then like half the classroom, some of them giggle, some of them the jaws drop, and then we just jump into a pretty heavy conversation then.
Their initial reaction is that they can't believe that you would be gay.
Right. Well, it's it just reads into the stereotypes.
Wow.
That people have stereotypes of what a gay person is, and unless you are willing to stand up and break those stereotypes.
And there are very few in your type that would be willing to do that. That many gay people are not, say, the more effeminate type of guy, but very virile, masculine men who are in professions such as firefighting and police work, construction work, etc.
As we always say, we're everywhere.
Everywhere. And you're one of the few that goes to prove that. Have you lectured on the high school circuit at all?
No, but listening to him, I'm like, wow, that sounds cool. That sounds good.
Well, Ann's just become the president of G.O.A.L now. She
Yeah.
just started this month, so I'm going to rope her into a couple of projects.
Yeah.
Now, in becoming president of G.O.A.L, were you voted in, or?
Yes. The organization has elections every 2 years, and the former president, his term was up, and it was a campaign, just like there would be a regular election, and I won.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're now, for 2 years, you will be the president?
Yes.
What plans do you have to take the organization maybe in a new and more exciting direction, or?
Well, the first thing we're going to, work on is the domestic partnership.
Okay.
Tom and I have spoken about it. We've already been in touch with Senator Tom Duane's office, and we have something scheduled to meet with Senator Duane. That's something we have to work on immediately, obviously, and quickly. Have it settled quickly. I want everybody to know G.O.A.L, just like that. I want people just to know it and second nature. People think of the police department and they think of Emerald Society, they think of St. Patrick's Day. let them think of city, New York City Police Department. Let them think of G.O.A.L and Gay Pride Day in June. So.
Well, I'm sure you'll achieve that.
Oh.
In fact, I didn't know of Emerald, whatever you just
The
said.
Emerald Society?
Emerald Society, that I've never heard of. G.O.A.L I've heard of.
Well, the Emerald Society is
I never heard.
the
I thought you were
the
saying
Irish.
City.
It's the Irish group.
Okay.
The fraternal organization of
Right.
Irish descent.
Do they have an Italian group in there
Yeah.
somewhere?
Yes.
Everybody has a group.
Everybody has a group.
In speaking and touching on discrimination, what would be the worst form of discrimination you might have encountered in the police department, or regarding your sexual orientation?
Me personally, I don't know. I worked in a very liberal precinct. When I was working in a precinct, I worked in Manhattan on the Upper West Side.
Okay.
And I was very lucky there. There were other gay officers in the precinct. I know of discrimination against other people, but I can say I've really been lucky.
Like, I know there was an incident on Long Island with a gay officer that was just so tormented beyond compare, and being followed and so forth, and it became a public issue. And when something has to be brought to that,
I believe if it's the same case I'm thinking of, that he won a pretty big lawsuit
Yes, he did.
for the county. So,
Yes.
and that sends a pretty clear message on what's tolerated and what's not.
But it's just blood money to a big
absolutely.
extent, because
Absolutely.
the man was pretty much.
Absolutely blood money.
Now
And
when
it should
you-
never have to come to that.
No.
There was one case of discrimination, not so much, not to me per se, the individual, but to the group as a whole, when the gay officers actually wasn't allowed to wear our dress uniform when we marched in the Gay Pride
I
Parade.
remember that. Yeah.
Back in we won a
The
lawsuit in
80s,
19.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but we
Yeah,
just
it
won the
was that long
lawsuit
ago,
in 1996, 97 it was. Every single fraternal organization was able to march in their dress uniform in their respective parades.
Yeah.
The gay officers actually had to go to court for that right, because we were outrightly told, no, you can't. And it's comical because it's June, it's as hot as heck.
Yeah.
And here we are asking to wear wool.
Yeah, we'd rather not wear them.
We want to, we're asking, can we wear wool, gloves, and a hat? So that shows you how much it means to us.
Of course.
And we had to go to court for that and win that.
And
So.
since that point, you've been able to
Yes.
march in uniform
Yes.
every year thereafter.
Yes.
Now, with the fire department, what are some of the instances of discrimination that you might have
I think
encountered?
it's very strange, but I think the thing that gets to me most is the fact that in a crowd I don't stand out. So people are more liberal with what they say.
Yeah.
So you hear comments made that just so inappropriate, and you just can't believe you're still hearing those type of comments.
Yeah.
I mean, I was up on the I think it was in the first week after the Trade Center, and we were way up on the mound and digging through everything, and spent like 15 hours digging and passing bodies out, and this guy was walking by me and started making a joke about this other guy that he knew that moved into a gay area and didn't know it, and not that there's anything wrong with them, and I just was, someone is always there to, throw something at you to just,
Yeah. The left-handed.
So I think that ability of being, in the norm, so to speak, and then still hearing those types of comments.
But in your experiences in the fire department, nothing's been directed at you? Did you have
Nothing directly. It's more done indirectly.
behind your
when
back?
I came out, I had a lot of time on the job, and I thought, like you talked about friends before, who your friends are.
Yeah.
You want to find out who your friends are, come out.
That's right.
You find out who your friends are.
Now, when you say coming, we know what coming out means, but how exactly did you come out at the fire department? Did you just start telling everybody the reason you got divorced?
I kind of found out after years later from my divorce that numerous people were calling up my firehouse and saying that I was getting divorced because I was gay. But I didn't get divorced because I was gay. I got divorced because I was in a bad marriage.
Yeah.
And I basically came out on TV walking in the Gay Pride Parade.
Okay.
And I was walking with the a group of retired firefighters, and the newswoman was about 2 blocks away, and I knew she was going to come up to me and ask me a question, and and decided in that 2 blocks that the time was right.
And then everybody down at the battalion.
Word spreads very fast in firehouses.
So once that, appearance and that statement was made on the news, what did you sense as the reaction at the firehouse?
Some of it was very unexpected and some of it was expected. I mean, some people, like I said, some people I thought were friends turned out to not be. I would come into a room, they turn their backs on me, and I'd say hello, and they just ignore me, that kind of stuff. And
were there pleasant surprises, people who you wouldn't have thought would support?
There were some people that came up to me on an individual basis and just, I support you 100%, and that was some very unexpected people, and I thought that was great.
Okay, we have a call from Merrill from Fresh Meadows. Merrill, you're on Talking About Live.
Hi, I just tuned in and I saw Tom and a co-teacher and I stopped by the station last week and brought them a banner from kids we're working with out in Oregon.
That's
and
true.
Some cookies.
She
and
did.
We spent just such an amazing half hour that I will just remember the rest of my life listening to your story, your bravery, the guys in the station, and just seeing you. I just had to call and say hello because I feel like it's a friend.
Well, thank you, Merrill. That's very sweet of you.
So, and just all
And I remember the banner from Pendleton, Oregon.
Right.
And it was very nice of them to come in. That's like I was saying, the outpouring from people has been tremendous. As it should be. It shouldn't,
Of course.
Right.
I mean, it's a shame we needed an incident like that to thank our firefighters and our police officers, but if we learn anything, we continue to do so without an incident like that, and just take a moment to appreciate one another. Okay, do you have any other question, Merrill?
No questions. It was just such a thrill because it was just like one of those, moments that I just came back, told my class about, and shared with our fellow teachers because this has been, something the school's been working on, to actually go down and, meet someone. Tom was so nice with his time, and then, the bells rang and the doors went up and the truck went out the door, and you just realize that this is what they do, and they just take care of us, and that's it. No questions asked who or what, or, and it's an amazing feeling. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Merrill.
That's great.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you for calling. Good night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Well, we're nearing the end of our hour, and I usually have a question that I close every show with that I now have to ask both of you. But at the close of your career, I'll start with you, Ann. What unique contribution do you hope to have brought to the world of law enforcement and to the world in general that hadn't been there before?
The world of law enforcement. That there's many aspects of law enforcement. There's not just the police officer that's riding in the police car on the street that's effecting arrest. There's many more aspects of it. I work in community affairs now, and that's a whole different angle from the enforcement part of law enforcement. There's such a bigger scope of the whole police department. It's a whole world out there in the police department, and there's so many different little areas in it that can help a person. And when they see the cop on patrol who's making an arrest or just taking a report or something, doing the mundane day in and day out stuff, there's so much more to offer the public, and the public there's so much to offer the public, and the public should take advantage of it. But if I can only get that word out to people, I would feel I've done something.
Great. And you, Tom?
Me, I think that at the end of my career, I would hope that that a big part of my message goes out to my coworkers, that they need to accept everybody coming through the doors, for who they are and the job that they do. And I would like to continue to be able to send a message out to young people, whether they be gay, straight, whatever they are, that if they want to grow up and be a firefighter or a police officer or anything like that, it's within your grasp. You don't always have to go along according to what somebody else decided this is what you're supposed to do. If this is what you want to do, it's within your grasp.
If there's a teenager watching, well, we'll see in a second. Hold that thought. We have Eddie from Corona on the line. Eddie, you're on Talking About Live.
Hey, how's it going tonight?
Hello, how are you?
Good. I have a question for the host.
Okay.
Host, are you a faggot by any chance? 'Cause if you
Thank you. Okay. As I was saying, if you had a question, say a teenager that was grappling with their sexuality, that might be watching, what would you offer them? What kind of advice would you offer?
That can be a little tricky because you really have to know so much about their background and what their living arrangements are, what their family life is like. I would like to tell them though that you can, if you have a bad family life, you can get through it. If you have a good family life, that maybe you just need to, once you come to terms with it, trust. If there's somebody in your family you could trust to talk to, try talking to that person or somebody in your life that you could talk to and you could find out about it, and have an easy transition into what is a very happy life.
What about you, Ann?
I would tell them, do it when they're ready. Not because their pal told them it's time, or not because they watched something on TV and they want to come out because they saw something, but just when they, in their heart, knows that they're ready. And know that they have the safety of the home, or someplace that they can turn to, whether it be a extended family or somebody. But in their heart, they have to know they're ready. And whether they're 16 or 26 or 36, so be it. But they have to be ready before anybody else.
And even if they don't come from that background where they were, say they were supported, or they did come from a loving family or anything like that, basically they have to find that strength within themselves.
Right.
Okay. Once again, we're nearing the close of the program, but we have one more caller. We have Giovanni from Queens. Giovanni, you're on Talking About Live.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome to Talking About.
How you doing? I'm a friend of Tom's. I know him through FireFLAG. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Giovanni.
And I just want to thank you guys personally. I'll probably see you tomorrow night, hopefully. And I want to wish you a Happy New Year to all you guys.
Thank you.
And just because that jerk called a couple of seconds ago, I want you guys to know there's a lot of people out there who care about you and love you. So, again, Happy New Year. Keep up the good work with the show. It's great. It's my first time saying it. And I'll see you guys out and about. And take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
But basically in doing the, we have another call. Kevin from Queens, you're on Talking About Live. Kevin, is Kevin there? Hello.
Okay, how you doing?
Hi, how
Can
you
hear
doing,
me?
Kevin? Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm a social work student. I go to the Hunter School of Social Work. And I wanted to call because I called at the end of the show. I thought it was great to have both guest speakers there. And I am really proud of that. I'm a gay man myself. I had a question for the firemen. What was your experience like in terms of your coworkers? Did you find that they were supportive, or was it uncomfortable for you dealing with them?
I think it was uncomfortable in the beginning, but it's become very comfortable now. I actually switched firehouses. I worked in a firehouse in the Bronx, and I switched down to a firehouse in Manhattan, and it's a very diverse firehouse, and generally the people that I worked with there are pretty great guys and women.
Cool. Well, thank you. I'm really proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for calling. But in doing a show like this and spreading the word, it's definitely one arena where you could, talk a little bit more about these things that might not get the exposure that they should. Have you been in touch with a lot of media in terms of G.O.A.L and in terms of spreading the word? Because like you had said, a lot of people in the mainstream might not even know what it is and what it means. Hold that thought.
Okay.
we have Jack from Queens. Jack is off the line. We don't have Jack. Okay. Continue with that thought.
Okay. Yes, we've addressed the media. You know, whether it be New York One or another station, recently did a story that involved G.O.A.L and being a liaison at the gay community. The Advocate did a photo spread on Tom and various members of the Gay Officers Action League recently in their last issue. So that got our word out.
And I also think that in the same breath that we say that a lot of the attention we've gotten since 911, a lot of the attention we've gotten in the gay media has also come from 911, where we were shouting and screaming and say, look, there are gay firefighters, there are gay police officers, and they kind of fell on deaf ears. But now we're like the story of the moment.
We do have Jack from Queens on the line. Jack,
yes.
You're on Talking About. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Quick question for Tom. Tom, I'm very close to the fire department. I'm just happily scanning, and I just want to know, after the World Trade Center attack and the situation of you being gay, which you should be very proud of, has the fellas accepted you anymore?
I think in the firehouse I work in now, I think they were pretty accepting of me. But I do believe that since the 911 incident, just because of various things that have gone on in the firehouse, I think I've showed a lot of people that I work with what I'm capable of and what I'm about.
I think it's wonderful, Tom, and God bless you, and keep up the good work. I'm a great admirer of the fire department, especially truck companies.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for calling. Okay, we are nearing the close of our show once again, but I thank the two of you for definitely taking the time to come and speak with us.
Thank
you. And what do you feel now with the, as just a closing thought, with the World Trade Center? Do you feel that a monument might be put there in its stead, or would it be rebuilt?
I think they need to put something there that pretty substantial memorial-wise. I mean, to me, it's hallowed ground. It's a graveyard. Yeah. It needs to be, something very special put there.
I agree with you. What about you, Ann?
Yes, it has to be how they do it. It has to be something of a monument. You don't think it would be feasible to reconstruct them as it had been? Oh, it's feasible, but I don't believe it should be done. All right, once again, I'd like to thank both of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Tom. And thank you for joining us on Talking About Live. We will see you again in a month. I'm Christopher DelGaudio, and we'd like to wish you a pleasant evening and a Happy New Year. Thank you.